Morning all. Let's have a look at a sweet game of Magnus Carlsen when he was about 14, played in the Norwegian Championship of 2005. So his opponent was Atle Gronn, 2394 at the time. Atle Gronn is in the rankings of Norway, one of the top players in Norway. So at the time Magnus was higher rated at 2528, already higher rated. So he kicked off with knight f3, and we see d5 from Atle, d4 knight f6, and we see a very solid and popular Slav defense set up, the dreaded Slav triangle after e6 here. So bishop g5, h6, and Magnus preserves that dark square bishop. He just puts it on h4 for the moment. And okay, maybe his opponent's looking at the slight weaknesses of the last move, like b2 in particular, and maybe this looks a little bit materialistic, this next move on the surface, queen b6, but it is exposing a potential problem with this bishop maneuver. Why not attack b2? You might think, well, Magnus can defend it surely with queen c2. Okay, the opponent now wants to test Magnus a little bit more in this position with that b2 by playing knight e4. And here you could see that if knight takes, well, it's going to be a lot of problems for white intuitively, because, for example, and we'll do a second pass after this game, taking on e4 looks unattractive for various reasons, like queen b2 here, and moving the knight, d4 will drop, or even worse, knight e5 f6, but d4 looks to be dropping here. So queen b6 looks like an annoyance, and knight e4 continues this annoyance. So Magnus simply calmly plays e3, but now trying to justify the knight e4 more, black continues with bishop b4. Okay, and Magnus is not bothered. There's not too much pressure on c3 at the moment. Why not just continue developing with bishop d3? And the opponent now plays a seemingly very greedy move, queen a5. Okay, so is he trying to tempt, say, rook c1 from Magnus? There might be queen a2 there, but we'll check in the second pass if this is actually playable using that pin. It's very cheeky to try and win a pawn, or put even active, just putting more pressure on c3 and not really developing. But Magnus just castles. He gives up the c3 pawn when it goes to c3. So after knight takes, pawn takes, black's a pawn up. What is the punishment going to be meted out though? Rook ab1. Okay, black's already a bit tied down. This bishop, pressure on b7 is being felt. Black now plays d takes c4, and after bishop takes c4, bishop b4. Can black really get away with this? Okay, it looks like a very powerful gambit, if you can consider this a kind of gambit pawn. Knight e5 is played. Okay, what are the immediate threats here? Well, black in this position did not castle. Maybe he already saw there were some problems in his position, or perhaps felt it was just a little bit better to play this next move, bishop d6. But here Magnus creates a kind of Dutch stone wall type position with these pawns like this. And this pawn is very useful as a sort of battering ram for f5. The opponent's not keen to castle again. Okay, he's won his pawn, but it looks as though it's punishment time. After queen c7, how will Magnus intensify the pressure here? Well, he plays queen e4, and now this looks as though it's preparing a naughty battery against black's king. If black did dare castle, then bishop d3 maybe, and f5 looks a bit of a horrendous thing to play. But there might be something even stronger here after castling. We need to really check this on the second pass through. maybe even, you know, a technical move like bishop f6 might be possible, but we'll really check this out. Black did not castle in this position. Black played b6. Now things get really quite rough for black after Magnus's next move in this position. Can you guess what Magnus plays here? If I give you 10 seconds starting from now. Okay, Magnus plays knight takes f7. This looks very dangerous now because of this. Either way black takes, there's f5 liberating the rook more. Look, all of white's pieces are ready and waiting for the attack. Black chose queen takes f7, we see f5. It looks really, really dangerous. For example, if black castles, intuitively f takes and then e7 looks like a major menace because that bishop's guarding e7 here. So this is unplayable. It seems unplayable. So after f5, black tried queen h5, but it doesn't really help. Bishop takes e6. White's really smashed through to black's king. Lots and lots of threats here. Knight d7 is played, and now the move f6. f6. Multiple threats, really. Among them, intuitively, I guess, after knight takes, rook takes f6 might even be possible because of bishop takes f6. And the black king's in a kind of mating net with these beautiful bishops here. So how would black escape? And the rook's ready to come to the f file if king f8, but we'll check that out in the second pass a bit more. Okay, but what happened here in the game after f6 was actually knight takes f6, and after rook takes f6, so black didn't want that continuation. He tried something quite cheeky. He played queen takes h4, trying to get some pieces for the queen. I'm not even sure this is that good. So queen takes, g takes. I mean, queen f6 looks like winning anyway, but we'll just check in the second pass of the game. It's queen takes h4. Magnus found something even more concise here than queen takes h4. He plays queen takes c6, check. The king goes to e7, and it looks as though, why has Magnus done this? This is time to see Magnus's combinatory skill here being demonstrated. Can you spot a really crushing move in this position? So a tactical forcing move. If I give you 10 seconds starting from now. Okay. Rook f7 check. Ouch! In the game we have king takes and then queen c4 as mate. Whoops. So that will teach the opponent not to try and win a pawn from the opening. Now if well, let's put on the engines just to see that pawn. Is it really crushing for black or not? Oh, here king d8, by the way. Queen, well, either queen takes, well, this is all brilliant. Bishop d7 is a nice mating trick actually, because if king takes we get check and then queen e8, and then, well, that's mating on all lines. King d8 takes, queen c7. So let's go back in the game and see, was black at all justified with, say, queen b6? Queen b6, white's advantage goes up. On queen b6, trying to punish this weakness of the last move. It's not always good to try and punish a weakness of the last move, especially if you're not really in a position to sort of do this. It's active operations before putting oneself beyond defeat, before development, before king safety. Again, an active operation, knight e4, is increasing white's advantage technically. The probability of this rebounding on black is huge, because black's shouldn't really be doing this active stuff before getting a stable position. Bishop d3, and now another active move, queen a5, which now is actually the best move because A and B have been played, so might as well follow up with C, which is queen a5, attacking c3. So white castles, and then black's best move is D to take the pawn. He's lined everything up to take the pawn, and now here becomes the punishment time. You might think, well, couldn't black castle? Let's see, rook b3, bishop b4. Here's a point missed before. This makes sense why d takes c4 was played, because c5 now shuts down the bishop, locks down the bishop, embarrassingly. This is going to be really embarrassing for that bishop. So forget that. So black had to continue now to make a plan to get his bishop out. So d takes c4 to make sure it's not going to be shut in with c5. Now the bishop tries to escape back after being very naughty, winning that pawn on c3. So naughty bishop retreating. And now why not castling here? Okay, I think f4 looks like nice anyway. If we went with f4, white has the advantage. Rook f3 looks as though the attack might play itself with a kind of stonewall kind of standard routine maneuvers, because bishop f6 would seem to be on the cards here tactically at some point. Rook g3 definitely threatens bishop f6. Engine's not going for bishop f6 for some reason though. Couldn't we punt bishop f6? That was knight e8 here. I see, the technical moves from black avoiding disaster just about. But queen d1, okay, queen h5, it looks as though this is not defense. This is not palatable for black's kingside, surely. Well, now bishop f6 actually is an incisive move shown. Bishop f6 here. And black's king has had it, I think. Or losing the exchange. Queen e4 even stronger than trying to win the exchange. Going for that g6 with rook g6. And now we can smash through or not. Not yet. Bishop d3 preparing rook g6. Here I suppose rook g6, there's some counter, some evil technical counter now. Or something. Well no, that works as well. That's a mate. I just threw that in, I thought it looked good. And of course it looks good. The battery on h7. So all of this after knight e5 looks as though black's in serious trouble. He can't castle without getting this standard routine attack being played against him. f4, rook f3. So all the greedy watching this video, let this be a lesson to you not to try and snag a pawn in the opening like that. So f4, queen c7, if you value your king safety, that is. Now f5 seems more clinical than queen e4, what Magnus played. So if we look at f5, just for the record, does it involve giving up this pawn here? Now if e takes, we just set the exchange. Okay, it looks all like emphasising white's leading development in any case, this exchange sack. Here, I mean bishop f6, this looks crushing as well. There's going to be no defence, surely. You know, queen g6 is actually mate there. This sort of thing is just crushing. If queen takes e5, queen d3, incisive move threatening mate on d8, so black castles. Bishop g3, okay, what's going on here? Queen c5. F takes e6, this is good as well. What's happening here? Bishop d6 here, emphasising that black hasn't got connected rooks. So f8's a major problem. Pardon, Bell. Okay. Okay, so in this, I think we've demonstrated that Queen E4, okay, might not be totally like the precise way of crushing black. We briefly checked out castling here. I'm not really sure actually about F5. This might, as the engine indicates, might not be that brilliant. So possibly, you know, after Queen E4, black could have considered castling, unless we try F5 and find that's pretty major for black. So let's go EF. This is now interesting. Knight takes F7. So if Rook takes, we've got Queen E8 check, like this, winning the Rook. And if the pawn takes the Queen, Knight takes D6, discover check. Rook takes F8. Are we getting into unclear territory, or is this still good for white? It still might be good for white, but it looks too complicated. After Queen E4, probably castling is the best move. So B6 was played. We have Knight takes F7. Queen takes F7. F5. So on that F file, opening up that F file is quite brutal, and it's all over really. Black played now. Well, it's all pretty over. It looks. I mean, what does Black do here? He played Queen H5. If Queen G8, that looks grim. Queen G4 looks incisive, just to get onto G6. This just looks like Black's coming up with ridiculous moves. The engine's coming up with ridiculous moves, giving up B6 for some reason, giving up really on the position. I see. The idea is for Rook A7. It's pretty grim anyway. You get the general picture. So here, Bishop takes E6, F6. It's just crushing. We saw Black giving up the Queen in the game. Now, if it takes, let's check this out. Actually, even stronger than Bishop F6 is just winning the Queen. That's not a big deal. Sorry, pardon me. Bishop G4 check. Just win the Queen. Why not? Win the Queen. Take time to win the Queen, or even take on F6 first, then take the Queen. Oh dear. So in this position, F6 is clever stuff because it means Bishop G4. Yes, that's the threat to win the Queen. So Knight takes, and of course not here because the Queen's on prise with Knight takes E4. Hence Rook takes F6. Precise. Now Bishop G4 is threatened. Okay, now we understand the game a little bit more. So Queen takes H4, and okay, so I thought Queen H4 was playable as well. It probably is, yes. It looks pretty hopeless for Black in that case, but no, the incisive move here just is to go for the mate. And in the game we saw King E7 and the beautiful Rook F7 and this beautiful mate. Well, I hope you enjoyed that one. A very sweet game from the Norwegian Championship 2005. Comments or questions on YouTube? Thanks very much.